Welcome, welcome. It is week 17. We are here. We are ready to do some football picks. Last week did not go as well as I think we hoped for. We all went with winning records, but only 10 wins is our max for Pika and Drizzle, and I had 9, but we'll recap that here shortly and then see how we can do with week 17. Um, yeah, so let's get the boys in here and we will get going. Gentlemen,
Ladies,
everybody,
how's it going? Hello,
Everybody,
everyone.
week
how are you
17, week
all? How
17.
how are you all doing?
Good. How are you all?
All right.
Technically, me and Derek tied, so I think we're doing pretty good. I kept my
Yeah, we
lead.
are doing pretty good.
I feel
Yeah,
like you, Rain, are probably a little disappointed to not overtake me this past week.
I am, especially with me being the only one getting my lock this week.
Yeah,
And it just kept me even since you guys both missed, but then just raw picked better than I did.
Yeah.
Any takeaways? I mean, I know Houston play like it wasn't an upset. They just straight up outplayed the
yeah.
Chargers.
They looked way better. I guess I should have expected it with
Did,
the amount of people that are missing on defense, which
did you?
is just one person, Boza. They were missing Boza, and
Yeah.
they looked
They
awful.
Yeah.
they were terrible. Did you see the guy who? Well, he predicted that Houston would win, but after I think those teams beat Kansas City, then they all lost to the worst team that they played on their schedule.
Yeah, I saw
And
it's
he
the
and
Kansas
he
City
was
curse or whatever.
yeah. And so then he was like, you know what? Houston's gonna beat the Chargers, and they blew them out, which is insane.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, my only thing is I feel like as the weeks have gone on, I feel like I'm good at picking against you guys, but then I get overzealous and then pick like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you went 2 for 2 on your
You
defers
know,
there.
Yeah,
yeah,
you got
and,
Vegas against us, but then you lost New England and Pitt.
yeah.
Oh,
But
and
I
I
also
guess you
got
got
Miami,
Miami. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I just need to like get that better, and then we'll be all right.
that San Fran game was upsetting as a San Fran fan.
Yeah, I think for me
They should have won that.
the Seahawks game was probably the most surprising for me, just cause maybe it was just having too much faith in Seattle, like that they're
Yeah,
better than their 5-9, or I guess now 5-10 record states that they are, but like, and that game went over 43.5, considering there was a blizzard to start the game. And I can't believe that it went, that the Bears could score. Um, so
Speaking
we'll see.
speaking of that game, you wonder if Jamal Adams will wanna leave there too.
I mean, if Russ leaves, I think you probably see every big name free agent that they've got
oh yeah,
leave. I mean,
oh
unless
Yeah,
yeah.
they're going to throw a bucket of cash at them.
right.
Hello, Blimpo. How are you?
Jacksonville game was not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, we all picked Jacksonville, but I think that's more just like you can't pick either. Like, we won't pick either team the rest of the way, so you have to pick one in this
Right.
game, though.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and I just, number 1 pick in the draft against number 2 pick in the draft, and I guess it's not even like either quarterback was very good, and Zach Wilson just busted out that like 59-yard run, and then they returned a punt. Like that was
Yeah.
basically the difference in the game. It was special teams and kind of fluky Zach Wilson run because Jacksonville can't tackle. So
And the absolute butchering of Baltimore was beautiful to see because that is the true Baltimore that we should all know and love.
Cincinnati has their number this season. They have absolutely trounced Baltimore, and it's not even close.
well, we'll get to that game, but we can talk Cincy
I
this
do
week.
have a fun fact for that game is that the Bengals have outscored the Ravens and the Steelers 147-58, sweeping both teams for the first time since 2009.
Wow,
And they
kind of
still might
crazy.
not win the division,
Yeah.
which is even crazier.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't think there's really anything else. I mean, that New Orleans game was just ultra crappy because of Ian Book starting and
That locked me into my very first fantasy football championship.
Congratulations.
Needed the Dolphins to stay at least above 10, and they went plus 25. So we take those. Kamara had 8 points.
I think I'm gonna say it right now, and it might come back to haunt me, but Miami might be a dark horse here. I'm not so much their offense, but their defense is playing lights out, and
I'm with you on that
I
one.
wouldn't want to play them in the AFC.
I think we're going to have differing opinions on Miami as well.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, that game, I mean, yeah, that it was a kind of a crappy Monday nighter, except for people who were relying on players in that game to go to their championship in fantasy. So congrats to everybody who played Miami because you probably won your week. And so sorry to everyone who was relying on Alvin Kamara to do anything, because that was terrible. But
I fixed my loss record, by the way.
was it wrong?
It was 42.
Oh, I didn't fill that out, so thank
It's
you
all
to
right.
whoever did. All right, let's hop into week 17 here and see how it goes.
There isn't a is there a Thursday game tomorrow?
Nope.
Nope.
That's what I thought.
All
Okay.
Sunday and one Monday.
Okay.
Yep. All Sunday one. It's so for fantasy football players out there, Sunday is going to be a very stressful day, and for all regular teams, pretty much all these games have playoff
Meaning.
implications.
Yeah.
I saw a stat from last week or 2 weeks ago. I think because of the 18 game schedule, like still 80 or 83% of the league still had not been mathematically eliminated yet, which is kind of crazy. Hello, Ruiz Otto. Hello from Portugal. Oh, welcome. We're talking
Welcome.
American football.
Hope you enjoy.
Hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that extra game is making a big difference. Plus, the 7-team playoff now that started last year makes for all of these games to have meaning, and maybe we will see less benchings. We'll see less benchings in week 18. So, all right, let's get into the Thursday game. First game on the list for Sunday. We have the Las Vegas Raiders visiting the Colts. Colts giving 6.5. Indy got it done against Arizona last week without really having to rely too much on Jonathan Taylor. Even missing Darius Leonard, their defense still looked pretty good. They seem to be rounding into form. We kind of talked about it after the Bucs game that they had just come off the win against the Bills, and they looked good against the Bucs. And I thought that that was like their prove it game, that they could prove that they were contenders and contend for this division. The Raiders have somehow won 2 in a row against a COVID depleted Browns team, and then a Teddy Bridgewater-less Drew Lock led Broncos team. So I don't think you can really look. I just don't think the Raiders are very good.
It's like a curse kind of right now, right? If you play the Raiders, you lose your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
That is true.
Wentz is on the COVID list,
and he is not vaccinated, so he will not make this game.
Even with the change to the protocols.
Yes,
I imagine. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I mean, that means Jacoby Brissett or somebody they sign off the street will be potentially the one starting. Sam Ellinger.
Yeah.
Or no, they're not Brissett. Sam Ellinger is their backup. So, at home though, I still think that the Colts D can hold down this Raiders offense, and I think Ellinger can just ride the back of Jonathan Taylor to a Colts victory. So I will be for the shoe. We're gonna pick a horse team here and go with the Colts without
This
Wentz.
this was a tough one, right? Because like I just mentioned, you got the little Vegas curse. They're just playing teams without their main quarterbacks. I feel like that could be like a fully expected play, though, is that they're going to really hammer down on the run defense because they're going to expect it to just, them be handing the ball off and whatnot. However, Vegas's defense isn't that great.
And they are better against the pass than they are against the run by the numbers.
So there's a tough one. I feel like it's going to be close. And with Wentz not playing, honestly, I'm going Vegas.
Wow. All right. Vegas on the road. Let's give you your pick here. Maybe. There it goes.
Their away record is 4-3 compared to the home record of the Colts, which is 4-4. So
for me, this is hard because we're not fully sure Wentz will be able to play. And that was yesterday at 1:30 that he was put on the COVID list. But there's a crazy it's not a crazy stat, but the Raiders have gone 4-2 straight up on the road as the underdog with the blowout over the Cowboys. So it's either they win those games or they get blown out, the two losses. Man. I mean, do you believe in Sam Ellinger? Do they run the ball 40 times if he does play? Does Derek Carr do what he did against the Colts to like the Cowboys? Man,
it's a
it
tough
should be
one.
it should be easier, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, if Wentz is playing, I don't think it's close, right? You're taking Indy without Wentz.
Right.
So but like it's not like Wentz has been great. Like I don't think he's thrown for over 200 yards in like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe last week he went over. I think he went over 210 because I hit that prop. But that was like the first time in 3 weeks he's had to go over 200 yards. So like, can Sam Ellinger not turn the ball over and throw 150 yards worth of completions? I mean, probably.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Vegas pulls the upset.
Yes, join me.
Rain's face is just like, what's going on? Why are we here? Why are we here?
I mean, you know what? You guys are, we're all picking about evenly, so it's not like I can say I'm smarter or whatnot. So the Raiders, I don't know how they have a winning record, to be honest. How are they one game over 500?
I mean, I'm with you on that. It's just, I don't know, just with everything that's going on with the Colts, the Raiders have a ton of people getting thrown on the COVID list as well right now, but they're mostly vaxxed people from what I could tell. So they just need one negative test and they can play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see. Brian Edwards, Darren Waller, Casey Hayward Jr. are like probably their most notable ones. So, I mean, I don't know if Waller was even going to play anyway because of his knee leg injury. So, and the Colts should be getting Darius Leonard back, which is obviously a huge boon to that defense. So we shall see. We are in disagreement to start, so that's always a good thing, right? A little animosity for the first game of the day.
That's how you started off, baby.
I'll let you take this one, Driz, since your team is better than my team, so you can go ahead.
The Bears are barely better than the Giants. And there's not much to say. I think I'll just say it quickly. A beat writer that covered the Bears for 20 years passed away yesterday, and they loved him in the organization, the players, the media, top down. So I just think even if the Giants were going to win, I don't think there's a way if they pull it out. I think they played for him, and I think the Bears just cover the 6.
Cover the 6. All right. I like it. I think we're all going to probably be in agreement on this one, but go ahead, Derek.
I don't really have much to say. I feel like the Giants suck and the Bears suck, but the Giants are going to suck more. So, also going with the Bears.
Yeah, this game, I don't think anybody outside of, I guess, Giants and Bears fans are really going to be interested in watching this game. I think Jake Fromm is starting again, but Mike Glennon might mix in depending on if Jake Fromm's got 50 yards at halftime again, like he did this past week. At one point, he was like 1 for 6 for -4 yards passing. So there's a reason he was on a practice squad and not backing anybody up. And Glennon sucks, and the whole organization is a mess, and they basically need a page one rebuild. I don't even know if it's worth re-signing and keeping Saquon. Like, I don't know if there's anybody on this team that is truly a playmaker, or somebody that you can like mark down as a difference maker. So they have a couple pieces on defense, but even then, still no one that's like good. So Giants probably don't win another game this entire year, and for that reason, the Bears will be my pick as well. Don't you dare! Don't you dare type the Bears in or the Giants in for my
No,
pick.
Bears. I didn't type the Bears in.
Yeah.
I put the Giants in.
The one thing I hate about this game, besides the fact that we have to watch it, is that no matter what happens, since the Giants own the Bears' first round pick this year, like one of the picks gets worse and one of the picks gets better no matter what happens. So it kind of sucks that they play each other this year after trading picks with them in the draft last year. But either way, Giants are going to have 2 top 10 picks, and hopefully that.
Yeah, what really screwed you guys over is the Bears won last week. Because
Yep.
if they didn't win, it wouldn't matter as much this game who won and who lost.
Yep.
But now, if the Bears do win, they'll be closer to 8-9 instead of 4-5. Instead
Yep.
of you guys getting back-to-back picks. So.
Yeah, the Giants also haven't scored. They've scored over 20 points once in the last 6 games, and that was a loss to the Chargers. So
Do you notice how most Bears games are all the under or the over under is just so low? Like 37 and
I
a
know,
half.
and it's so hard to do. Like, I want to hammer the over
Yeah.
because it's such a small number for the NFL. But like, I feel like a lot of them have hit. Just like they're still decent defensively, and they can't move the ball. And the Giants are okay defensively at times, and they also can't move the ball. So like, does this game end like 9-3? Like, is it just like a really safe
Oh,
under?
you know what? You probably want to hope it ends in a tie.
A tie would be ideal. Yes. Yeah, a tie would be ideal. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I guess weirder things have occurred.
Yeah.
All right. Another game that probably no one cares about except for Bucks fans is that Tampa visiting New York, the Jets, giving 13, over under a 45.5, which is a pretty large number. The Jets obviously
Tampa's going to do that themselves. First half. This is going to be our first week 45-point game half.
You think this is Brady just getting back to wanting to just pile on the touchdowns? And
yeah, the thing is, like, the luck isn't on my side this week, and I play against Antonio Brown, so Antonio Brown's gonna have 4 touchdowns before the halftime.
Hey, I mean, I'm starting him in a 3rd place matchup in fantasy, so I guess I'll take that. But they put up 32 against Carolina last week in what was a long run by Vaughn and a lot of Jones, and Brady didn't even look that good. So mouth kiss the Toms. Looks like we've got some early Tampa picks in there. Yeah, the Jets are terrible. So
yeah,
this is definitely. I'll just mark us all down unless Bryce is going to do something crazy, but I don't think he's that crazy. I know
I do want to say 2 things. I think this is just a game for Tampa Bay to get ready for the playoffs. And secondly, I do think there's going to be upset this week, but I don't have the balls to pick the Jets.
I feel like
Yeah.
you've been you're a Denver hater, but you've also kind of been a Bucks hater. There were a couple weeks back that you were like ready to pick against the Bucks. I think maybe it was the Falcons. You were saying that you didn't think the Bucks were as good as their record showed, and you were like ready to pick that upset.
I don't think I said that. I just wanted Cordell Patterson to win me sushi.
Yeah. Well, that's
That's all.
probably not happening.
No.
That's fine. That's okay.
Speaking of, look at this transition skill here. We have Atlanta visiting the Bills. The Bills giving 14.5, which
There's no way they cover that.
is a massive number.
Not a chance.
And the Falcons have actually been surprisingly good this year. They're 6-9 against the spread, so it's not like they have been great. And the Bills are 9-6, but the Falcons aren't the Jags or the Jets, right? They're still a semi-competent football team that's kind of in the playoff hunt, and that's way too much, even at home for Buffalo. And Buffalo's kind of gotten right a little bit here. Hopefully, they realize that Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are not the answer, and now that Isaiah McKenzie kind of popped last week and Gabe Davis is coming off the COVID list, they feature those guys besides Diggs as like the 2 and 3 options, and then Knox mix in instead of Cole Beasley and old man Emmanuel Sanders. The Falcons, I don't have a lot of faith in this offense against the Bills, even though the Bills have been gashed by the run. It kind of seems like Cordell Patterson's running out of gas a little bit. He's seen his touches.
He did not have a touchdown last week, I don't believe.
No, last week he did score, and that's what saved his day. I think he ended up with like 9 half-point PPR points. It didn't look like he scored
right.
because of the point totals, but the last 2 weeks, this past week, he averaged 2 yards a carry, and then the week prior, he averaged 1.7 yards a carry. And one of those teams was the Lions, which was last week, and he couldn't muster up more than 2 yards. And he's seen his touches come down from like 14, 15 a game. I think last game he only had 8 or 9. Mike Davis has seemed to be mixing in more for his 10 to 13 touches. So I don't know if it's this is more workload than he's kind of seen ever. And I wonder if he is a little older, so I wonder if maybe the workload is kind of wearing on him, and the coaching staff did come out and say they were going to manage their veterans reps. So I think that could be kind of what we're seeing with Cordero. So I don't think he's really as scary as he maybe was at the beginning of the year. So that's a lot of talking about the Bills. I will be taking, or about the Falcons, and I'll just be taking Buffalo here at home. I do not think they cover, though, so I'll probably be taking Atlanta with the points. But I think the Bills got right last week, I feel like.
They did, and Atlanta barely put up 20 points against Detroit. So right. I don't see them doing much this game. I feel like the season might just be done for them. They're out the door.
I'm curious what they do at quarterback going into next year. Like Matt Ryan he's been serviceable, but I guess we have to see what happens with Calvin Ridley, but they have a core with Pitts and Ridley if Ridley comes back that's pretty talented to build around, but you need a quarterback that's able to get the ball there.
I think Buffalo wins, but I don't think they cover the 14.5. So I'm taking the Bills.
I like it. We're back
like
on track.
14.5 is a big number, and I just, even with Atlanta being Atlanta,
2 touchdowns in the NFL is just that's so many points.
Yeah.
So many points.
So many.
The most points.
So we got Philadelphia Eagles at Washington Football here. Football team here.
Football team here. Oh, that their football team here.
Their football team. I mean, the Eagles are down Miles Sanders. Jalen Hurts hasn't looked the same since returning in Week 15 from a high ankle sprain. He's only rushed 10 times for 45 yards in the last 2 games, with 740 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. This offense kind of goes with him,
Yep.
Um, it's possible that Jordan Howard and Boston Scott will eat up some yards against Washington. Um, so I mean, if Hurts is doing more throwing than running, the game could be over by halftime. Washington looked awful last week against the Cowboys. Um, like uh, it didn't something wasn't clicking with them last week, and I have a feeling it's going to hard carry into this week. They could also just very well be checked out, and just playing out the rest of the season. So with most of that being said, going Birds.
Go Birds. Go Birds. Driz?
I was I was rooting for Washington this year. Um, I thought they'd be a decent football team. I thought they'd play better. They did play better in the middle of the season, but they are falling apart, and we saw it on that game against the Cowboys. As much as I don't think Philly is too good of a team, I think, like Derek said, I think Washington might have checked out, and I think Philly takes football team out back.
Because the Philly still has a chance, I think, of pushing in, barring however the Niners play as well.
Philly, I think, currently owns the 7 seed.
Yeah, yes, you are right.
So they are definitely, they have something to play for. They, Washington's 2 games back. So theoretically, if they beat Philly here and then beat the Giants, they do have it's not the hardest closing to the schedule that a team could have. And Philly does play Dallas next week, which will be Dallas maybe benching players depending on what happens. So they both have roads to a wild card spot, but Washington needs help from other teams as well, not just winning out. They're going to need to obviously have Philly lose both games and then need some help from some other teams in the NFC to even find that 7 spot. They completely melted down last week against Dallas. To give up 56 and to look as bad as they did and to only muster up 14, I think that was kind of them checking out for the year. They are kind of talent deprived. I mean, Taylor Heineke is clearly not the answer at quarterback, and I think they would be a more interesting team had Fitz not got hurt early in the year. But even a hobbled Jalen Hurts and no Miles Sanders, I think that they'll just beat Washington in a different way than Dallas did last week. Dallas did it through the air and really didn't need much on the ground, but Jalen Hurts is kind of like he's a good talent. I don't think he's the best thrower of the ball, but I think they come in to Washington, get a pretty easy dub. We're all in agreement on the Birds. I don't know if I like that. They're not a great team, and it's a divisional game. Yeah, divisional game on the road could definitely go Washington's way, but the Birds have been hot, so they haven't really played anybody. They beat the Jets, they beat Washington, they beat the Giants, but they've still been winning the games they're supposed to win. So probably continues this week, or hopefully continues this week. All right, I think a game that Driz is eager to talk about here because it's his second favorite team. KC visiting the Bengals.
I wish hold on. I wish I actually had a camera. Do you see my face right now? What? It's the swaggy P, all the question marks around my head. What?
I mean, your second favorite team by jersey is the Chargers, but you have a deep love affair with the Bengals going on this year.
True.
It's true. Yeah. All right.
Bengal appreciator. So KC 5.5 point favorites here on the road. Should be getting Kelsey back. Got Tyreek back, but was not really used much in the game plan last week. They even
He
without.
said he was exhausted.
Yeah, so I think he kind of got a bye week and an extra week of rest for this game, which has playoff implications for both teams. The Bengals, wow, what a performance by Joe Burrow last week. 500 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, looked amazing. But I have some fun Bengals facts here. They're still middle of the pack in offensive DVOA. So they're still a very up and down team. And so Joe Burrow against the Ravens has thrown 7 of his 30 touchdowns and thrown for almost 1,000 of his 4,000 yards in 2 games. Outside of that, last week against the Broncos, the week before against the 49ers, the week before that against the Chargers, just did not look very good. Not throwing a ton of touchdowns, looked average. So if he's not playing Pittsburgh or the Ravens, he has not been that good, and the offense has been more centered around giving Joe Mixon the ball 20 plus times and being kind of like a run first offense. The Chiefs defense has still been playing absolutely lights out. They, outside of 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, have given up 10 or less or I'm sorry, 14 or less points in their last 6. So their defense has been great. And the only reason they gave up 28 is because they were out Chris Jones against the Chargers and they still won. So I don't think we're ready. I don't think the Bengals have arrived yet or anything. I think KC has really rounded into proper form here and are ready for this playoff push. So with a lot of confidence, I will be taking the Chiefs this week.
Right there with you. Cincinnati only plays well against bad teams, and Kansas City's not a bad team. So Mahomes has been looking great, and he's going to look great this week. He might have more of his weapons back. It's going to be a good game to watch. I think Cincinnati might keep it close, but I don't see it being a blowout. But I see the Chiefs being up at least like 10, probably by halftime.
Dissension is among us.
How did I know?
How did you know? Called it.
How did you know?
Because you
The
are
biggest
a
game in Cincinnati in 6 years.
You are a Bengals stan.
6 years. Right? 6 years. Kansas City coming to town. They're going to be hyped. They're going to be jacked. And you know what? Kansas City gives up a lot. They can give up a lot of passing yards. And I think Joey B does it again. And that's a dub for Cincinnati and a division title.
Hey, man, giving up yards is not points, just FYI. They can give up all the yards in the world. If they're not putting it in the end zone, it's not going to matter. Joey B's.
Joey B's.
I think for Christmas next year, I'm going to get you a Joe Burrow jersey.
I mean, sure, I'll take one.
You are a Cincy stan. Absolute.
You know what? Hold on. Speaking of that, maybe next year, if we continue to do this, we could do something like that for the winner.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, we could like kind of how you said, you give me a Burrow jersey. We could, who's the team that you always picked or just were a stand for?
Yeah. Your
I like
ride
that
or
idea.
die.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
All right. Well, dissension. I think this is probably the game of the week. I'm really excited to see this game. I know Cincy's defense has been good.
There's two.
I think
KC and Miami. Both those games are going to be fun to watch.
Oh well, we get to that one in a second here, but
I do hope it lives up to expectations, and I hope it's a shootout. I hope it's just back and forth right down the field.
I think we got a quick one, so we'll get to Miami real quick here. Jacksonville visiting Tennessee. Jacksonville visiting New England. New England giving 15.5. Again, that's a huge number. I don't know where I stand on. It's Jacksonville, I get it, but that's still a lot of points. So kind of tempted to take the Jags with the points, but not to win this game. The Jags
No.
just lost to the Jets. New England is playing a bad team again, which means they're going to win, as they did when they were on their little win streak there. And then they started playing some good teams and started losing. So this is a pretty easy Patriots slam dunk. We'll probably be able to run the ball 40 times and score 40 points doing it type game. Anything to add, gentlemen?
No.
I
No,
do.
not at all, to be honest.
I think it's just a get right game. They are happy to see Jacksonville on their schedule right now for New England.
Mm-hmm.
They need
I
it.
do have a fun fact.
Oh, I'm ready.
So New England.
Despite starting only one game, Minshew has twice as many touchdown passes as Trevor Lawrence over his last 8 games.
That's insane. When was
So-
the last time Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown? It was like week 8, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think.
Week 10, something like that.
Ooh, that might be a good prop.
That he throws one this week.
Maybe not this week, but maybe next week.
All right, in a game that apparently some people in these parts think is another game of the week.
Well, if you
listen,
think Tennessee's
listen,
any good, then I don't know what
listen.
to tell you.
Tennessee has a really good run defense, but they have a porous pass defense. And Miami, their weakness right now, running the ball. Their strengths, though, again, lefty out there throwing bombs down the field to Waddle and just like dancing in the end zone. Come on,
all right, well,
it's such an easy pick.
keep going. You do. Does that mean you're taking the Dolphins?
I'm taking the Dolphins. I'm gonna like you can expect a pretty pass heavy game here, and we're gonna see more of Waddle putting up a ton of points and Gesicki putting up a ton of points. The issue is that, like, Tennessee does have a good, like I said, run defense, so they're good at rushing the quarterback if they need to, and Miami's O-line kind of sucks, so I feel like Tua's got it kind of like a big test here to see how well he can put the team on his back and just get the ball downfield. But I don't know. I see it being close, but I see the Dolphins taking it in the end. I got my fun facts here. Dolphins, first team in history to have both a 7-game winning streak and a 7-game losing streak in the same season.
That's insane.
The Dolphins are dead last in all-purpose yardage. They have one of the worst return games and rushing attacks. Plus, they are one of 2 teams without a fourth quarter comeback, and they're currently on a 7-game winning streak. So I think it's easy to say here that they're just gonna keep the ball rolling, and it's not gonna be a blowout like against the Saints, but it's gonna be Miami.
They're going to continue defying all of those stats and winning.
They pushed me through to the finals, so I'm pushing them through to the playoffs.
I like the pick with the heart. I like it. Bryce?
I'm gonna echo a lot of what he said without saying it. I think
I'll just
they're gonna
rewind
get
the
it.
VOD and replay.
Yeah, yeah. I think they'll somehow get it done. All points are all facts are pointing at them to lose this game, and then they won't. So I'm taking whistle and clicks.
Whistle and clicks.
Well, I won't make you make a dolphin noise again this week.
I'm not going to. Regardless.
Okay. So I think we have dissension among us here. And not really because I think the Titans are a very good team, although they did look better against San Fran, who you just made all those points about how Tua is going to get the ball to Waddle. But the 49ers had injuries to their running game and have Debo and Kittle and could not move the ball through the air against Tennessee very well.
It's because you got the most inconsistent quarterback in history on the 49ers 49ers
G.
team right now.
I mean, Tua is not that much better of a passer than Jimmy G. He does offer more, options with his legs and whatnot. But so the Titans are getting healthy. They get AJ Brown back. I don't know if the Dolphins have an answer for him. Xavier Howard is good, but he hasn't been the shutdown corner that he's been in years past. The Titans have a competent run game, and their defense, like you said, can stop the run, even though Miami does not run much. It's in Tennessee. They need to win to keep pace over Indy. And with Wentz out, and if Vegas does take care of business, the Titans can kind of lock up that number one, or that to win the division, and they get Houston next week. So they're sitting pretty. The Dolphins, on the other hand, might be looking ahead to next week playing the Patriots. And maybe not that this is a game that you look past, but there's a lot of significance next week with the divisional game closing up this year, especially if somehow New England loses to Jacksonville, and then that wild card spot is wide open for the Dolphins. So I think that Tennessee at home, checks to see if there's text on screen. Yes, Zach, there is text on screen.
It's not happening this week, Zach. Don't worry about
it. Yeah. I'm gonna take the Titans here. I think they're a better team all around, even without Derrick Henry. And I think that this 7-game win streak for the Dolphins has been fueled by playing the Jets twice, the Giants once, the Texans once, and the Panthers once, and an Ian Book Saints team. The only good team that they've played was the Ravens. So they have not beaten anybody. They've kind of been given a favorable schedule. And I think now that they're going to play another decent playoff bound team, I think that things start to change a little bit here. So dissension is among us.
All right.
I love it when you got to say it.
All right. This is a game that I'm excited for, not because I think it's going to be a particularly good game, but because the Rams and Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford get to see this absolute dog shit secondary that the Ravens have. If Burrow threw for 512, what is Stafford going to throw for? Cooper Kupp might have 300 yards and 14 touchdowns in this game. He's going to have
calm down. Oh my God. Setting record.
God, do I hope so.
14 targets, 14 touchdowns. It's that, mark it down. Not really, but the Baltimore secondary is absolutely terrible. Lamar, I guess, was still hobbled in practice. They should be getting Huntley back, but and he's good and serviceable and competent and keeps them in games, but they're not going to have an answer for Cooper Kupp, and the Rams are going to go in there and just throw all over the Ravens, and they won't need a run game with Henderson being out. They do have Sony Michel, who has performed very well in his absence, but I don't think they're going to need to run the ball at all. It's all going to be Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I picked up PlayStation Michael because I needed a better running back in the spot. I could see him getting some like red zone targets. I don't expect him to put up a whole bunch of points, but hopefully enough to push me through my first win. So
ride in the back of Cooper Kupp. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teams in that boat this year.
It's going to be nerve-wracking on Sunday.
I do think this might be a closer game than we think, just for the fact if Baltimore does get Lamar back, he just kind of has that, like his teammates, rally behind him, they get up, and he like brings everybody up, kind of thing. But I don't know if it's enough. Sean McVay should look at what Cincinnati did the 2 times they played Baltimore and just mimic that and just throw all over them. And I do think the Rams pull it out.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun one to watch for more fantasy purposes than real football purposes. I think a lot of Cooper Kupp fantasy owners are going to be screaming at their TV every time he catches the ball and has a chance to take one to the house every time he touches it. Now, I think that in both of the Bengals games, it hasn't been Jamar Chase. It's been like the secondary options.
T. Higgins,
and Tyler Boyd. So maybe you see an OBJ pop off or like a Van Jefferson pop off instead of Kupp, much to Piccadilly's chagrin there because but Cooper Kupp is so good. He should be the MVP. Maybe him or Jonathan Taylor. I'd like to see it go to a non-quarterback this year, just because of the years that both those guys are having.
Yeah, would be nice, but probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen.
Brady.
No. Well, maybe. I thought Kyler for a little bit to start the year, but he's kind of been bad.
Yeah.
All right. Denver, my team that I've kind of stand this year, even though they're not very good. Visiting the Chargers, Chargers giving 6, Chargers coming off a terrible, absolutely god-awful loss to the Houston Texans. Gave up 41. Rex Burkhead ran all over them, making him look like somebody.
Who knew he was still in the league?
Yeah, right? It was kind of crazy. The Broncos got really hurt with having to start Drew Lock, obviously. I believe I saw Teddy is on track to play this week. So that will be a huge boon to this offense. Not that Teddy's lighting up the world or anything, but they definitely missed him last week against the Raiders in a game that I thought that they were going to win because they can run the ball and the Raiders can't stop the run. Well, now they get the next worst run defense in the Chargers, who just got absolutely trounced by, like we said, Rex Burkhead. Bosa should be back this week, which does help the Chargers. I'm actually torn on this one. As we've talked, I am kind of a Denver stan. I don't think they're terrible. I
don't think they're bad either, but they just they didn't look like the Denver they've been this season last game. I don't know what it was. They just did not. Every time I would red zone would flip over to their game, it was just overthrown passes. It was running for maybe 1.5 yards.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon ruined my playoff or my finals chances in one of my leagues, giving me a hot.
I think they went 3 and out too many times. They just didn't look good. But at the same time, the Chargers didn't look good either while we were watching that game. But I feel like with Bosa back, that gives me more confidence to pick the Chargers. I'd rather pick Denver, but I don't see them being able to compete because I have a feeling the Chargers are going to be a bit more upset about their game last week, losing to Houston.
Yeah. Bryce, what are your thoughts? I'm gonna play off of you here because I'm not sure what I'm thinking yet.
I absolutely 100% love the Chargers uniforms. But they don't play up to the standard that the uniforms are. Do you see those yellow pants?
I do.
Those are fucking orgasmic. Man, if they could just, put that in a bottle or something and, get the serum from Space Jam.
And then play as good as their jerseys look.
Yeah, exactly. But they are terrible against the run. And Denver has 2 good running backs. It just depends. Do they lean on them?
Right.
I'm also torn with this one. I hate Denver. I don't think they're any good. I hate those orange jerseys too, and I love orange. Obviously, you see what Drizzle's picks are. They are in orange.
Yeah. You are an orange appreciator.
I am, absolutely. But I think after losing to Kansas City and just a lame duck last week against Houston, I think they pull this one out and beat Denver. It's also at home, so.
Yeah, Denver did beat them in Denver a couple weeks ago, pretty handily too, 28-3.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take the Chargers here, even though I
hope that helped.
It didn't really. Because I can definitely see. I want to pick the Broncos. I.
Why don't you go for it? Come on.
I think the second. It's always harder to beat a team the second time around, and it's in LA this time, and I think they're a better coached team. I think Vic Fangio is a terrible coach. and does not utilize his players correctly. He has the Broncos probably have a top 10 receiving core with Judy and Sutton and Tim Patrick and Noah Fant and Javonte out of the backfield and Melvin Gordon out of the backfield. And he does not have an either. I mean, he's not calling the plays for the offense, but he doesn't have a coordinator in place that can get those guys the ball. Teddy's
Well,
not good, but like you can scheme to get these guys in space and get them the ball. Teddy
yeah.
supported 3 fantasy relevant wide receivers in Carolina last year. He can support a passing attack that's at least competent, and that's really the reason. As bad as the Chargers are against the run, I don't I just can't pick them pick against them at home against a team that just looks lost moving the ball through the air. So it pains me deeply to not pick the Broncos here.
They might wear their orange jerseys too, you know?
I mean, who knows? It could go completely south and the Broncos run for 350 and control the clock, you know?
I'm not confident in the Chargers pick, but I mean, I feel
we're
like
all
it's
taking them as our lock. Let's go.
Oh, no,
Take Denver to cover.
Taking Houston as my lock.
All right. Well, let's let Derek get going with his team. The only one of us that has a team that's any good.
You know, they have been. Last week was kind of rough. I honestly feel like they really should have won last week. So it was shocking when they didn't. That whole second half of the game just was not going the way of San Francisco. Like just too many overthrown passes. It was like every other pass Jimmy was throwing was either way above or way behind the receiver. It didn't look great. We now know it could be because of an injury to his thumb. But it was talked about today during their press conference that Shanahan said the thumb didn't need surgery, and there's a very big possibility that he's still going to play against Houston.
It's crazy.
And there's an issue here is that anytime Jimmy tries to play while he's injured, he barely makes it out of the first half before they take him out and put the backup in. So for me, it makes sense for them to just throw Trey Lance in there. Like you're playing Houston, who sure they looked pretty okay last week, but their defense still kind of is not great. And our defense is more than capable of putting a stop to anything they try to do. Right, like don't throw the ball towards Josh Norman, and we should probably be fine. But it's tough. Like I'm picking the Niners, right? Because I'm not going to pick Houston over San Fran, but I need Shanahan to figure out whether or not Lance is getting the start or if they're going to try and play a potentially injured Jimmy. Unfortunately, Jimmy didn't practice today, so that could be more of a sign that they're going with Lance, but we unfortunately won't know until Sunday.
I think Houston will cover the 12.5. Dare I say it, Davis Mills might be an answer, an NFL quarterback going forward for the future for Houston.
I can't shake my head no hard enough.
Shake your head, but like he might be better than Danny Dimes.
That is saying absolutely. I feel like that's the second time you've tried to throw some like Giants fact that like to try to like make it sound like they're better than they are. Saying somebody's better than Danny Dimes means literally nothing. Less than nothing.
Oh, because it's so funny.
Oh, you know what? Coming back on that, Trey Lance did practice today as the QB1. Nate Sudfeld was practicing as the QB2, and Tyler Bray was out on the field for QB3.
Oh, we need some Tyler Bray action.
I think we do need some Tyler Bray action here.
No, but I'll stick by what I said. I do think Davis Mills could be a decent quarterback in the NFL. He looked lost when he first started. for Tyrod, but he's been putting together some good games. Him and um, what's his name? Brandon Cooks had some chemistry. I know he didn't play last week, but um, with that said, I don't think they have two upsets in them back to back. So I will take San Francisco. I just wanted to highlight Houston just a little bit because they're a bad team. That's all.
So I've changed my mind. I'm not getting you a Burrow jersey anymore because we all know he's good. I'm getting you a Davis Mills jersey so that you can wear it with shame at some point in his career when he fizzles out of the league.
What happens when he wins a Super Bowl?
That will not. I will bet any amount of money that Davis Mills never wins a Super Bowl. With that said, I agree. Houston does not have another 41-point effort in them, and it's ready for it. Trey Lance, if he was gonna have to fill in a week, this would be the week you want him to fill in, and maybe just maybe you can get Jimmy G healthy enough to play against LA next week in what could be like a win and in type situation for the 49ers. If they happen to lay an egg this week and go to 8-8, they definitely need to win next week. And you want Jimmy most likely for that, even though Trey Lance is raw, but with his talent with his legs and his cannon for an arm definitely gives them a chance to win. And like you could tune it up against Houston here, I think. Debo and Kittle should eat. I think they're a better combo than Keenan Allen, and there was no Mike Williams for the Chargers and no Austin Eckler last week. So maybe we just should have seen that coming with all their COVID problems, that Houston was like ripe for an upset. But the 49ers outside of Jimmy G really aren't missing their most explosive options. The Texans do get Brandon Cooks back this week, but I don't think that matters because Davis Mills is going to throw like 7 picks. So, like you said, as long as they don't throw towards Josh Norman, in which case he'll throw 7 touchdowns.
Probably.
But yeah, I will also be taking the Niners here. I'm excited for you, Derek, for your team to maybe get into the playoffs, and then
I mean, if they can squeak in,
we can all pick against them in the first round.
Yeah.
All right. Arizona visiting Dallas. Dallas giving 5.5. Looked unbelievably good last week, obviously, against the Washington football team. Put up 56. Dak looked back on track. Zeke, was Zeke. I don't think he really was overly impressive. And they got a defensive score, and the Washington football team looked terrible. Arizona has been obviously sliding with 3 straight losses. They haven't had a decent win since San Fran. Their other 2 wins in the last 7 were against the Seahawks and the Bears, so not exactly like the most quality of wins. And they did lose. No one will forget they did lose to the Lions.
They got trounced by the Lions.
They got trounced by the Lions.
Yeah.
I do, however, think that Dallas right now is highly overrated. Their last 4 wins have been against pretty bad teams. I mean, the Saints are okay. They can't really score. They have a good defense, but they have a win twice against Washington and once against the Giants. And when they've played, and they lost to the Raiders on Thanksgiving. When they've played, like the Chiefs, they put up 9. They play a good defense in Denver. They put up 16. I don't think they're as good as this like spike to 56 here shows. They've been a pretty average offense the last few weeks. And I think the Cardinals are better than the last 3 losses would indicate. They do miss D-Hop, but that defense is still solid. They probably should have beat the Colts last week. I think the Colts kind of escaped with one. Outside of Hopkins, they're not really missing anybody. Connor's still questionable. I'm gonna probably be the dissenter here. I'm gonna be taking Arizona on the road. I think they get right. They have to win this game to kind of keep pace with all the rest of the division leaders and with the Rams. And I'm just not sold that the Cowboys are really that good.
I'm kind of in the opposite here, and I can see why you would want to defer, but like Arizona just hasn't been looking good. They're it's mirroring pretty much what they did last season, where they were good at the start and then they regressed super hard and fell apart leading into the playoffs. So I see this as just another. I don't see this as another huge blowout like last week for Dallas, but I do see this being um, Dallas's win, even if they keep it close.
So I'm gonna tell you, Rain, why you're gonna hate picking Arizona. Um, since 2019, from weeks 1 through 7, the Cardinals have been 15-5-1 on our Kingsbury, not Kingsbury, Kingsbury. And then after week 7, they're 8-18. They fall apart in the last half of the season. I can't tell you why, but they
That's why.
can't win on the road. They can't win at home.
Why?
They can't beat good teams. They can't beat bad teams.
That's why I don't like stats like that, though. They're just more arbitrary than anything else.
Sure, but it's also, I mean, it's happened the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, but there's so many
or
factors
since 2019.
that go into that. What does your schedule at the end of the year look like? What happened with injuries? And granted, they have not looked good and the trend has continued, but it's
And then, so, as a great philosopher once said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. To be honest, I don't know if a great philosopher said that, but it's important to understand the concepts. And they haven't been finishing. And I don't know if it's just on the football field, but let's hope it's just there. So, the Cowboys are 9-1 against NFC teams this year. They're averaging 38.4 points at home. And I'm going to take the Cowboys in a blowout.
In a blowout, wow. I also
think,
like the under in this
Edmonds is getting the full load again, assuming he's still in.
Yeah.
So I could see him having another big game, but I just don't see. I feel like Dallas is gonna keep the pace.
I didn't know "Bro, you kinda obese" was a Nitschke quote, but the great philosopher did say, "Bro, you kinda obese." Also words to live by.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Finish strong, and bro, you kinda obese. Bringing the knowledge.
So this isn't another game.
No,
it is another game, but
yeah, it is a game that is going to happen.
It's gonna be hard to pick because Peyton hasn't picked who's getting the start yet. He expects fucking what's his name to be back? Yeah, he expects Taysom to be back. So it could be Taysom, could be Ian Book. Sam Darnold is getting the start for the Panthers, though. So
why can't we have Squirtle play?
Who?
Squirtle.
Who is Squirtle?
Who?
Blake Bortles. Come on now.
Why is his name Squirtle?
I don't know. It rhymes. Bortles, Squirtle.
That doesn't rhyme at all.
Similar enough to me.
And you want to tell me all these Dallas stats? You don't even know what rhymes.
I mean, that's totally different. Completely different. 100% different.
He said Squirtle.
Squirtle. Okay, what? Squirtle?
There we go. See, Ryan knows a bit more than me.
You gotta
I don't care
the
to
Bortle
know
meme first.
I don't care to know that much about Blake Bortles.
Bortle, the War Bortle.
War Bortle I would have understood. I just didn't get the why you calling him Squirtle.
He just called it a Squirtle. Just expected us to know what he was talking about.
Oh yeah, Blake Squirtle, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got that water gun for an arm.
I'm just gonna.
This game's Squirtle. This game sucks to pick. New Orleans defense is really solid though, and I'm going to continue to just ride the fact that they can stop Sam Darnold and whatever the Carolina Panthers decide that they want to try to do. Darnold sucks. So he looked okay at the beginning of the year, but he turned back into a pumpkin. So I'm gonna go under the assumption that Taysom Hill is gonna play, and they'll be able to score enough against Carolina to take a
Yeah,
dub
it's kind of in
here.
the same boat. Like, I mean, they shut out Tampa Bay, right? And most of their people should be coming back for those that were out. And they're just going to do the same thing. Um, like, the only reason the Dolphins won that game was like entirely their defense, to be honest.
And Ian Book.
Yeah, and Ian Book just being not good.
Yeah.
Um, but hopefully Book doesn't play this game. I'm gonna
Also,
regret that if Saturday comes and they're like, Book's getting the start. I'd be like, God damn it.
also, I mean, Darnold is terrible under pressure, and Cam Jordan is going to eat his lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, nothing to add. You're just in there as a Saints
Yeah, I
a
don't
believer.
Trying to
see.
remember where
I
Ryan put
don't.
Squirtle.
Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, might as well be the bench throwing the football.
Might as well. They should just transfer Squirtle over there.
What's their cat, the fucking mascot name? He's gonna be the quarterback.
Send him out. It's got to be better, right?
It's probably Squirtle, to be honest with you.
Squirtle the cat.
Squirtle the cat.
Yeah, I'm just taking New Orleans because their defense. Hopefully, this pick goes well for us.
I like it. We're in lockstep with a shitty team.
To a
Speaking of
game that doesn't matter at all.
Speaking of shitty teams, the Lions, who are 2-2 in their last 4 somehow, visiting the Seahawks, who just absolutely just shit the bed against the Bears. I mean, how do you lose to the Bears? That's embarrassing. I mean, you might be saving Matt Nagy's job. That maybe Pete Carroll has a handshake agreement.
Oh no.
Did I just tilt you? I'm sorry.
No, you just made me sad.
Oh yeah. I mean that's rough. To be a Bears fan and have to think about Matt Nagy sometimes. And that they get a win against the Seahawks, who are, I mean, they might be worse than the Lions. To be honest, they can't move the ball. So,
well, are you little hint here?
No, it's not foreshadowing. Even though the Lions are 10-5 against the spread this year, which I think is one of the better marks besides like the Packers. I think at home again, Seattle is still the better team than Detroit. I mean, they still have Russ. They still have Lockett. They still have DK. They should be able to move the ball. The Lions defense isn't, they're scrappy, but they're nothing to be afraid of. I think the Bears defense is better than Detroit's defense still. I just refuse to pick the Lions. It doesn't matter. So Seattle it is at home. Hopefully they don't let me down. I think I've picked them 4 times, and every time I've picked them, I've lost. So this is the time to get right.
I think this game's gonna be won by a garbage time field goal. It's gonna be like 2 seconds left on the clock. It's a matter of who is it gonna go to though. Goff should be back, right?
Hopefully, they're saying
He was questionable with a leg injury today, but he's off the COVID list.
The sun god that they have on their team has also been really phenomenal over his last couple of games. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift might be making a little comeback. I mean, Jamal Williams is awful. I could say he's barely like an RB3. So if DeAndre Swift comes back, I mean, I feel like there's a pretty big chance, right? Like Seahawks just like haven't really been playing that great. They're knocked out of the playoffs. It's a tough one, and I put too much confidence in them to beat the Bears. But the Bears just beat Seattle. So I feel like this garbage time field goal is going to come down to Detroit in the last 2 seconds, and Detroit's going to win.
Look at that. Lions logo graphic that we don't get to use very often. I think the last time you picked Detroit was on Thanksgiving, and that came back to
Yep.
bite you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a terrible game to pick.
Oh, yeah.
Seattle is underperformed. Russ doesn't look like himself, and the Lions have lioned all year. Regardless, with that said, though, they've covered 10-5 against the spread, and they seem to be playing better as of late. Man, this is an afternoon game. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to watch this. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, man.
It is supposed to rain for what it's worth, if that helps you.
So it's going to be a high scoring game for some reason.
Yeah, they're going to put up.
I mean, Rashad
49.
Penny looked great last week. So much so that I'm picking him up because I think I'm going to play him in my flex. But I don't know. It depends on where Javonte and Aaron Jones end up because they're both questionable right now. So
all right, that's
he
what we're
could end up
doing.
getting the start.
I'm gonna leave this to chance. Who's heads and who's tails?
Seattle tails, Detroit
Seattle
heads.
tails. Yeah,
All right,
Flipping a coin.
got to go with the coin flip.
who is heads?
The Lions.
That would be Detroit.
We're taking Detroit.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Are you going to do your lock to be Detroit too?
You gonna pull me?
Yeah. I'll take that as a
I'm
no.
not gonna tell you now.
Bryce hasn't taken a single fun lock this year. It's always super serious.
What do you mean? Hold on. We're gonna go back.
Chargers.
I took New England. Vikings over
Vikings.
Green Bay. By the way, that was fun. I took Miami.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Who'd Miami play in week 12?
Carolina.
They played Carolina.
Okay. And I took Philly. And then I took Washington.
You took Philly against the Jets.
Yeah.
And then I took Dallas. And then I took the Chargers. And now I'm taking somebody that's a team that plays in the NFL.
Love that.
I would hope so.
Man, I can't wait to see which one it is. Should compare the most successful and the least successful weeks.
We should, like, at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're gonna do that at the end of the end of the year. We're gonna do like a recap for everything.
Something we can go back to, but there was week 12, I believe, was both of you. That was your worst week, and then week 9 was my worst week. The first week we started doing this.
I went fucking.
Yeah, look at all that red.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's so much red in there.
I missed every afternoon game that week. That was pretty bad. I'm gonna delete that sheet.
Should go back to go look at week 14 though. Go look at week 14.
Look at all that. Look at all that green. That was a good week.
Just that was a good week.
That was a great week.
And you know what sucked though? Pittsburgh and Carolina were my two top scoring confidence picks. So I ended up not winning that week. It was great.
Rough. I don't know what happened to week 12. I don't think that. Yeah, no, that week has been lost to time. No one needs to know about that week. People will tell stories about that week in 50 years.
Do you remember week 12, Sonny?
Yeah. No one got any games right.
It was red everywhere.
All right. Minnesota visiting Green Bay. Dalvin Cook activated off the COVID list, so he is probably playing. Rodgers' COVID toe apparently got worse. Aaron Jones is questionable. The Packers are giving 6.5. Had a little scare last week against the Browns. Even though they turned Baker over 4 times, they still almost lost in the end. So that was
so close.
They've had back-to-back close weeks, and their defense has not been playing as well as it did to start the year. They've given up. I mean, last week wasn't super high scoring, but the 3 weeks before that, 31-20, or the 4 weeks before that, 31, 28, 30, and 30 is what they gave up. Or 34, I'm sorry, to the Vikings, who beat them in Minnesota. So now Minnesota coming to Green Bay. Green Bay may be playing for a little revenge here, lock up the overall 1 seed with a win. The Vikings kind of still in the playoff mix. I think they are holding the 6th spot right now. So important game for both teams. With that said, I still can't pick against Green Bay at home, at least until they start losing. So, and there's only 2 weeks left, and they go on the road next week. So this is their last home game. I think this may be Aaron Rodgers' last home game and last time in Lambeau. So I think he wants to go out with a win. So I will be taking the Packers, even with them not playing as well recently on the defensive side of the ball.
Um, it kind of sucked. I started Lazard last week, but he had a dropped pass in the end zone, and Rodgers took that personally, and he didn't see a single target after that dropped pass. Thankfully, it was like after he had already put up like it was like around 10 or 11 points. I don't remember what he finished with, but he still put up like a decent showing. But yeah, it was weird. It was like the third quarter, I think. It was like one of the first passes thrown when they got to the end zone. He dropped it and then just didn't see a single target after that. So I don't know what happened there to make Rodgers just absolutely hate him for the rest of the game. Um,
I don't know if you guys got a chance to like watch because it was Christmas. I watched the whole game. They just took their foot off the gas. Like they
really
got up
did.
to that big lead, and then they just went so conservative, went 3-and-out like 3 times in a row, and
Yeah.
kept turning over Baker. But then just they refused to try to like push the ball downfield. It was kind of weird play calling. It was like one of the few times I think we've seen Matt LaFleur like kind of bungle play calling in situations.
Yeah,
Um,
he just looked out of sorts.
I have a feeling we could see the same thing this week. I thought the Rams were going to have a much better game against Minnesota. I kind of fully expected Cooper Kupp to have way more targets than he did. He still put up 20 points, but that's
Only
just
20.
I mean
Only
that's his
yeah,
floor. Like
complaining
yeah, like
complaining about 20
he didn't. I shockingly didn't get a touchdown.
rich people problems.
Right. Um, and so I could see that being a problem this week. I thought that the Minnesota secondary was going to be worse than what they showed. Um, but I still feel like Green Bay is just kind of riding out the rest of the season, even though they've made the playoffs already. Um, I don't see them dropping any games, at least the last two. So I don't see this being a blowout, but I see Green Bay still kind of taking this in stride.
So I picked Minnesota the last time they played in Minnesota, and they looked good against them, even though it was a close game. And that was my lock too. I I think this is just gonna be a high scoring game, back and forth, as these games with the Packers and Vikings always seem to be high scoring and close. But I think the COVID toe somehow gets enough diamonds rubbed on it to pull out the win.
Oh, we've gone from crystals to just full on diamonds.
Ivans.
Whatever it is, crystals, diamonds, it doesn't work anyway.
But still,
Jesus Christ, Soup, come on.
Soup.
The soup.
What does Soup want to
Does
pick?
does soup like soup?
No, he doesn't eat anything but chicken wings and Taco Bell cheese.
Taco Bell cheese?
Literally, he refuses to touch any other human food unless it's those two things. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Rodgers leaving after this year? I think he's gone. So I think he's playing for that like pride of walking out of Lambeau, kind of like ride his horse into the sunset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, people were asking about retiring. I could see that possibly happening. I could also see him just going somewhere else for a couple more seasons, but I don't know. It'll be fun to sit here and not hear any news about it until like the week before preseason.
Bryce, are you, as a Bears fan, are you excited for the Packers to not have a good quarterback for the first time in like 3 decades?
Man, what? So I'll ask you a question. What's more likely, the Bears start winning over the next decade, or Jordan Love is somehow just
The
fits
next
right
coming?
fits right in, doesn't miss a beat, and next thing you know, it's we're dealing with this all over again.
I think it's more likely that the Bears start winning. I think we've seen Jordan Love, and I don't know if you guys have seen any like practice videos that were kind of coming out before the season started, and when like Rodgers' status was still in flux if he was going to come back. Jordan Love was just airmailing people in practice, like, and it's a couple videos and kind of there's no context around it, but I don't think he looks the part. He wasn't a mega producer in college. He wasn't this like supreme talent. He fell to the back end of the first round. I think if anything, if Rodgers walks, I think Green Bay might make a play for one of the veteran quarterbacks that's going to be looking for a new home, whether that be Russ or maybe somehow convince Rodgers to come back. But I think he's done.
That would be the worst case scenario. Like, oh, guess what? Rodgers is going somewhere else or retires. You know what? We're going to sign Russ.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We're screwed then.
Well, see you in 10 years, Bears. All right, that's our Sunday night game. And for our Monday night game, we get a banger of the Browns visiting Pittsburgh, Cleveland giving 3. They did look, I mean, they looked okay against the Packers outside of Baker sucking. And somehow they stayed in that game, like we talked about, because the Packers kind of took their foot off the gas. Probably should have put up double the amount of points that they did and just decided they didn't want to throw anymore, and also couldn't run the ball. It was kind of weird. The Steelers got absolutely dismantled by Kansas City. They look terrible. Kansas City kind of got to do a little tune-up on them. That game, I don't think really was ever in question. I think you picked them, didn't you, Bryce? Yeah,
He did.
Fortunately,
you did. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a closer game. I thought the Steelers usually for the most part, keep games close. Like maybe they pulled upset, but I didn't expect them to I didn't expect that performance to come out of them.
Yeah. As bad as both of these teams have kind of been, they're still both kind of in the hunt here in the AFC because everything's so tight. And Freiermuth tweeted or Instagrammed that he was gonna be playing. He's still got a clear protocol, I believe, but he's back to practicing after his concussion, so he should be good to go this week. I think that gives them that option in the seam that they didn't have last week. I have zero faith in Baker. I think Baker is terrible. I think the Steelers at home want to try to sneak into the playoffs here because this is probably Ben's last year and their future also not very bright with Mason Rudolph if that's going to be their option going forward. So I think at home against a bad Cleveland team, their defense is fine, but they just can't move the ball. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to get a dub here.
I mean, I think Kareem Hunt should be back for this one, right?
Possibly.
I'm on like the opposite end of the spectrum here, where I think Ben realizes that if he makes the playoffs, he has to keep playing, and I don't think he wants to anymore.
I don't want to play.
I'm tired of getting a hit.
Like he's every time he I love watching him go for like rush yardage because it's just the way he runs is the way I look when I'm running, and I'm a very overweight man. So seeing that we have a lot in common, I feel like he just wants to be done and retire. And
I feel the same way.
For that, I'm regrettably taking Cleveland this game. I think it's gonna not. I don't see it going over. I see both these teams just struggling, but Pittsburgh does this weird thing where they go down like a touchdown and maybe a field goal, and then like every play they make, they do like the most obnoxious like trash talking to whoever they just like snuffed, and then they just get blown the fuck out because they like it's the funniest thing to me. So I have a feeling they're just gonna do it again this game.
You want a fun fact?
Someone's gonna stop a pass, and then they're just gonna get obliterated the rest of the game.
Which fun fact are you gonna say?
Do you want a fun fact?
Yeah.
Every time that the Steelers have been a home dog, they have just outright won the game.
I feel like that stops here.
You gotta be confident in your pick. So I think this is Ben's final home game. Monday night, Heinz Field. The Steelers are 19-1 in their past 20 Monday night games. Big Ben gets that dub for the Steelers.
Big
one
Ben
more time.
puts them up 2 touchdowns and then has a heart attack during halftime, and they have to bring in the backup.
All right, we have picked successfully all 16 games. We'll see how actual success we have with those picks, but we did pick them.
We did do
we
that.
We did do the picking. All right, it's time to lock some stuff in. Is anybody ready for their lock?
No.
I am.
All right, send it. Let's see what you got.
I had to make sure. I had to go back and check, but barring any changes and putting the highest confidence in my fantasy football team, Piccadilly will be, for the first time, locking in the Rams. Cooper Kupp, 4 touchdowns, 55 points fantasy. I'm winning my first championship.
Let's go, baby!
I do have to check as well.
Thanks for helping me check.
Well, I'm going to be riding and dying with you this week. I will also be locking in the Rams. I'm done taking ridiculous fun picks. We're trying to get a win. So, the Rams over Baltimore on the road, which doesn't feel good, but Cooper Kupp going to score at least 4. At least 4.
Here's a fun fact for you. I've gotten let me just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've gotten 1 lock in my last 5 weeks, so let's see how well this goes.
I'm gonna bring you some good vibes, and you're gonna get it.
Thank you. I need it desperately.
Bryce really thinking, really debating what he wants to do. I'm gonna make a guess here. It's either gonna be Detroit over Seattle, or it's going to be Cincinnati over KC. The Bears!
Nah, he fucking typed that in.
He's really struggling.
I'm helping you, Bryce.
You're sending him for a loop. He can't decide what he wants to do. You're flustering him.
I did it. Would you stop? Oh my god.
What is your pick?
Cincinnati. It was Cincinnati.
It was Cincy? Okay.
He just deleted it.
I wasn't sure if that was you or him doing that.
No, yeah, I put Ben.
All right. Locking in the Bengals, his Stan team. Joe Burrow.
I want that jersey, baby.
He decides yet again to try to get the +1 on us, where we both go KC and he goes Cincy.
This is where he loses the lead. This is the week he
this
loses
could
the lead for
be
this pickle run.
There's a lot of solo dissension here, mostly on my side. I feel like so that could go really poorly for me, so we will see.
I'm ready to see. We gotta keep it fun. We gotta keep it lively, and who the best picker will win.
That is probably how stats work.
It's something like that.
That was very good, since it was very Madden-esque. Who, if people didn't hear, passed away yesterday. Very sad. That was like the Madden games were like my gateway into football, like for the Super Nintendo.
I was terrible at them, but like 4 verticals, let's go.
And then obviously watching football, learning, the players, and he was super influential, obviously, outside of coaching, even for the NFL. So, but that was some good Madden analysis you just had. The team or the person that picks the most will win.
I try to bring a little bit of that
of the Madden energy. Yeah. All right, gents. We have one more after this. I think for the next one I'm gonna try to come up with some different stuff to do for next year, and we're gonna come up with a playoff competition that we can do. Maybe bring in a couple other people as well. But for next year, I'm thinking we'll talk about it. But I think we want to go. I want to go to like maybe a point system where we're not just straight up picking like money line picks, but points if you pick the spread or pick the over or pick the money line that are kind of weighted differently based on what you want. And it would allow us to not have to pick like shitty games like Jacksonville at the Jets last week. We could maybe take a total or the spread.
What if we still do like the like just straight up, but also we could like you could pick the spread or the over under. Or like do like 5 locks or 5 like something like that or something.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, obviously we have plenty to talk about. So.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of time before the 2022 season kicks in.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun. Good luck, Derek, in your first finals appearance in a fantasy league.
Nervous.
Yeah,
nervous.
It's stressful. Once you get that first one under your belt, though, it's not so bad anymore. I'm trying to win my work league for the second time in 3 years. Didn't make it in my keeper league, which is unfortunate because that's the main league that I really want to win. But I'm fighting for third against Blimpo, who hangs out in here occasionally, and hopefully just win my money back there. And then I got another third place game in one of my free leagues, and another third place game helping my old boss manage his team. Not happening. We'll see. You have no running backs, so we'll see what happens there. But
don't worry, I'm in the same boat.
Thank you for joining. As always, we'll be doing this one more time next week, and it has been fun. You picked up Boston Scott. Yeah. Well, Boston Scott only scores touchdowns against the Giants, so they don't play the Giants this week. But that's going to do it for us, and I appreciate everybody who hung out and watched and participated, and we will recap and do everything next week. See y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye, everybody.